We all value photos of our family, whether you hire a professional photographer or you're just taking photos on your iPhone. Having family photos is something that a lot of people feel is important. We have them fill up our space on our phones or our iClouds, but the question is, how often do you actually print out those photos of your family? Hey everyone, my name is Zach. I'm a photographer and videographer, but more importantly than that, I'm a husband and a father. And recently I've been very intentional about capturing and then storing family photos. And by that I mean printing them. And the reason why I'm printing photos is because I think it leaves behind a legacy for your kids and for your grandkids and your family to be able to look at these photos and see what you valued and see what your life was like and get a glimpse into these moments that you're getting to experience today. You know, when I print a photo today of my daughter, I know that years from now, she can take that photo, she can look at that photo, she can, maybe remember what was happening in it. I don't know if she'll actually remember because she's so young, but she'll be able to get a glimpse into what life was like in that moment. She might even be able to show her kids or one day her grandkids that photo, and they might be able to get a glimpse into what was happening in our lives at that time. And there's just something so special about that. So for that reason, I've been very intentional about taking family photos that I know my daughter and hopefully my grandkids will look back on one day and enjoy. But the thing is, taking photos is only one half of the battle. The other half is actually figuring out what to do with them after you take them. You can leave them on your phone and let them get lost in the scramble of your phone library, but I think something that's really, really important to do is to actually print your photos. You see, we live in this digital world where all of our photos just stay on our phone or in the cloud somewhere, and it's really easy for those important special photos that we want to stand out to get lost in the mix of all those random junky photos that we don't need, like photos of receipts and stuff like that. It's just easy for those special photos to then become unimportant. And I know that I don't want that for my family, and I'm sure you don't want that for yours either. So I decided that I was actually going to print out a bunch of my photos, and it's taught me a lot about why I think we should be printing our photos regularly. We recently went on a family vacation down to Florida, and I'll use that as the example as to these photos that I wanted to print and why I want to print them and what I learned from printing these photos. So the first thing I learned is that when you print your photos, it causes these photos to become more special. It levels them up, it highlights them to a mark of importance that just goes beyond photos that are kept on your phone, right? I know that when I'm taking photos and I want to print them out, I have to be intentional with taking photos. When we were on this vacation down in Florida, I knew that I wanted to create a photo album after the fact of this family trip. And so that caused me to be intentional with taking photos, but it also allowed me to really take photos of those special moments on the trip. And it allowed those moments when I printed them to kind of stand out above the rest, right? I only had, I think, 40 spaces in my photo album that I could pick from. And so I knew that I was going to be printing 40 photos. And with those 40 photos, even though I took a lot more than 40 photos, I had to pick and choose which photos were the ones that I felt were the most important, which ones were the ones that represented what we loved about this vacation, which ones were the ones that, highlighted those special moments. And so doing that, it caused me to intentionally pick through and decide which photos we felt like were important and valued and are going to be put into this photo album. And so a lot of this intentionality that we had with picking these photos, my wife and I, it allowed us to kind of see these moments as really, really special. It allowed us to look at these photos and know that, oh yeah, these are going to be photos that we're going to look at years and years from now. The next reason I found that you should print your photos is because it gives you a whole nother creative element. Maybe you're a person who doesn't feel like you're very creative when you have a camera in your hand. Maybe you just feel like you're just taking iPhone photos. There's nothing super creative about it. You don't feel like you're skilled in that, and that's totally fine. You don't have to be a professional photographer, even an amateur photographer, to take photos of your family. But photography in and of itself is a creative process. No matter your skill, no matter who you are, the photos that you take are your specific photos, and they show everyone else what's important to you, what you value, what you like. So there is a creative element when you're taking photos, even if you don't necessarily feel like you're super creative. But when you print your photos, there's a whole nother creative side to the story. You have to figure out how you're going to print them. Are you going to print them in large format? Or are you going to print them in little tiny photos? Are you going to, print them as a collage and hang it up on the wall? Are you going to print them and then frame them? And how are you going to place the frames? Are you going to print them and put them in a photo album? Or are you going to make a scrapbook? There's a whole bunch of different ways that you can print your photos, and I think that gives you an opportunity to be creative in a way that maybe we didn't think of when we first thought of taking these family photos. So for myself, I'm kind of in this simple minimalistic kick. I really am liking film style looking photos, and I kind of wanted to print out our family photos from vacation to kind of reflect that. And so I just picked out a simple photo album. I decided that I was going to print out the photos on little film strip Instax paper and put them in that. And for me, that allowed me to be creative in a way that I really am not typically creative. It allowed me to do something new creatively. And so I think that if you're someone who's taking family photos and you don't feel like you're super creative with how you're taking the photos, when you print your photos, maybe that gives you an opportunity to be creative in a whole nother area that you didn't think of in the first place. Back in the good old days of taking photos, the job wasn't done until you actually printed the photos and then figured out what you were going to do to show those photos off. And so I think for us today, we kind of need to think of it in the same way. The job isn't done until you print off some of those photos, until you kind of pull them out and say, this one's special, and then show it off in a way that is creative and reflects who you are and what you value and love. And the final reason I've kind of learned why you should print your photos is because it leaves behind a bit of a legacy for your kids and for your grandkids and the family that follows you. When you print a photo, you have a tangible, physical thing that you can pass to your kid, who can pass to their kid, who can pass to their kid, and so on and so on. I know that when I take a photo of my daughter today, she can look at it later in life. She can show her children and their children. And so there's this element of, kind of like caring is sharing almost. You take a photo, you print it, and then you're able to share that with everyone else. And people who may not necessarily know you one day get to learn about you. They get to see the things that were important to you, both by the photo that you took, but also by how you preserved it, by how you printed it and put it into photo album, scrapbook, whatever it might be. When I pull out old photo albums from my grandparents or my parents, I'm able to see the things that were important to them. And I want that same thing for my kids and my grandkids. I want to be able to pass something down that they can open up and they can get to know me a little bit just by what photos I took and how I printed them out, how I showed them the things that I value and the things that are important to me. It's kind of like you're able to leave a little bit of yourself behind for someone else to get to know and to look at and to enjoy. And so for me, I just love that. I love the idea that years from now, my kids and my grandkids and great grandkids can get to know myself and my wife and our family at this time in life, and just be able to enjoy that. That fills me with excitement. And so, I think printing your family photos, it's not something that we do all that often. We kind of just take photos and put them on our phones and our computers and things like that and forget about it. But I think there's real value in printing your family photos. Even if, your photos aren't anything professional, that doesn't matter. I still think, taking photos, printing them, storing them, whether it be in a photo album, scrapbook, and just a box even, it's so important. And I want to encourage people to take more family photos and to then print those family photos. So I hope you've enjoyed this video. Obviously, taking family photos, printing family photos is something that I'm passionate and excited about. So I hope to do more videos like this. If you've enjoyed this video, I would love it if you would like the video, share it with someone, and then subscribe and come and check out the rest of the videos that we're going to be posting on this channel. So have a good day. We'll see you guys later.